And today we're going to talk about personalizing health one nutrient at a time. Let's get this show started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, business bros, today we're going to dive into the stories of entrepreneurs who are reshaping the world. And we got a guest who's a visionary and turned a personal trials into a crusade for better health. He's a pioneer in leveraging AI for personalized nutrition, transform healthcare access with his companies, and has guided over 100 million people towards a healthier life. So buckle up as we explore the crossroads of technology, investments, and wellness with our guest, Mr. Ari Tulla. All right, Ari, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Let's go jump off with the first question I ask all my guests. Everybody who comes on the show is here to promote something that they're doing for a living, a message they want to get out. What is that for you?
I'm currently building a company called Elo Health. What we try to do, like you said, we try to help people with personalized nutrition. And of course, as you know, anything, the newest baby is my favorite. So Elo is the name today for me.
All right. You came from healthcare access before with Better Doctor and Quest Analytics. But you kind of focused over here to Elo. Tell me what motivated you to make that shift, make that change.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a kid who grew up doing stuff I loved. I played hockey, as anyone would do in Finland, and then I played video games and became pretty good at it. And video games became my first career. I spent about a decade building video games, playing them, making money on that way. It was really fun, and that led me into Silicon Valley, where I'm now. And then we had another thread in my life. My wife had a health issue. Year 2000, she had a thyroid tumor that led into autoimmune diseases, and doctors did great work. They got the tumor out. She was healed, but then there was a tail end that we got a verdict we can never have a family. And we spent about a decade of trying to find a solution, first in Europe, then in the US. And we had some really good doctors, some not that great doctors to help us along the way. But food became medicine. There was one wonderful doctor who guided us into anti-inflammatory diet that was able to heal my wife's body inside out. And today we have a 9 and 5-year-old kids that, of course, are our life in a way. So that's why I do nutrition today. And I spent the last decade building two companies in space of how do you find a doctor. We had some trauma at the end of our tribulations. We got very lucky with the first time IVF. We got pregnant, and then we lost our son, partially because of we didn't get the right care, the right advice. And I wanted to build a system, Better Doctor, that helps people find a doctor when they need help. And that certainly took a decade and a lot of learning. And now I'm trying to do the same thing in food. We don't really know what to eat, how to supplement. We are trying to make that more transparent, like we did for finding a doctor.
First of all, congratulations on the family. I mean, that's a huge feat to come over and you found a way. And I kind of wanted to hover on two things you said there. One is finding the right doctor. The other one is the food. I'm gonna start with the food issue first and foremost, mainly because I've been kind of making a change myself. I've seen the carnivore diet. I kind of like the way that is, but mainly it's just coming down to if I can grow it and it's natural, I'll probably eat it. And if it's processed, I probably won't. But it's not the easiest thing in the world. I grew up in a time where the food pyramid was different. Like what I was taught was good for you. Apparently, turns out later down the road, it really isn't. And I'm seeing, my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation growing up with a lot of health issues, heart issues, obesity issues, diabetes issues, and oftentimes they're not doing anything different than what they were taught. Walk me through what you're doing to help people find out what they should be eating, how much they should be eating, to kind of help regulate some of these issues that our body has internally.
It's a very complicated matter, and I think just the 2 points to highlight if we take a step back. Today, we have 75% of people who are overweight.
Mm.
We are 40, almost 50% obese today in the US of the adult population. More than 60% of people have one or more chronic conditions today that they are getting medications for. Our life expectancy has been declining for the first few years. We are living less long today than we did a decade ago. We have many of our parents who are maybe now, like my parents are in 75, 74, they likely will live longer than many of the young kids today who are starting to eat the ultra processed food from the young age. We know how we feed people in school. I bet when you went to school, it wasn't, provided by some of the big food companies like Yumly or Pizza Hut like today. It's all yellow food, highly processed, high on carbs, very unhealthy. So the problem we have today is that we have a food system that is making us all sick. And what we try to do at Elo, we are trying to give you some tools to make at least you eat better and have better nutrition. So what we try to do is to take data from your body. Think about a blood test, wearable devices like a Whoop or Aura or Apple Watch or whatnot, and then use that data together with an assessment. Think about like a doctor does a form with you, asking questions. We do that, and then we give you right nutrition. So we often find out, for example, that 70-80% of people have low vitamin D, they have low vitamin B12, they have low iron, and those are causing them to be, they probably have eaten the wrong diet. And then we can give you, supplements in the form of like pills and gummies and powders. And of course, in the end, supplements are there to supplement people. Really, you need to eat the right food. So we are building systems like an app where you can ask questions. We have a dietitian who can guide you through. We are building an AI model today that can help you on that very moment. You can ask like, what should I eat today based on all the data I have about myself on Elo. So trying to give you this sort of a almost like a companion that can guide you through and make it very easy. Like if we find out that you have low vitamin D, we don't send you a PDF and say you have low vitamin D. We send you D vitamin to your home. Custom supplements. So that's been a really interesting way, and we got really good at now helping you to fill your micronutrient deficiencies. And I mean, it's not like saving a world or curing a disease, but we make often people feel better, and many people, they start to make better decisions, and then they start to get healthier.
You mentioned in your story earlier that when your wife was seeking medical help, you went through good doctors and bad doctors. And at this, as you're speaking right now about the supplements or the different ways that these things are treated, I'm always kind of surprised that almost every time I would go to the doctor for almost anything, there's always some sort of pharmaceutical solution that they're going to bring to the table. And I know you said that you're not necessarily curing people, but having them know what they're supposed to eat is essentially a way of allowing the body to cure itself, letting us do what we were naturally bred to do. And I love that you have the whole AI model there, which kind of compiles a lot of information from multiple different doctors, different nutritionists, all kinds of different professionals to kind of give you that personalized touch. How much of it is going to say, hey, you should look into a medication versus, hey, you should probably eat an apple a day or something like that?
Yes, I mean, like the whole healthcare system today, I mean, we call it healthcare system, but it really is a sick care system where we
Yes.
really 90% of the money is spent on treating people who are already sick. I mean, today, right now, we spend 3% of the money into prevention. Think about how
Mm.
crazy it is that we wait until you are sick and then we spend a lot of money. It would be way cheaper to spend the money in the beginning. We could basically, today we spend almost trillion. It is $5,000 billion in the US on healthcare as a whole. We could feed everybody for free, by the way, with good food and basically save money. So it's very bizarre how we're doing things. And I think, a doctor today, when you go to become a doctor, I mean, changing slowly, but if you go to a normal doctor who's maybe 40, 50 years old, they had about 3 or 4 hours of nutrition information in the studies that took 12 years. Think about it. And they had maybe, 3 years of studies about how to medicate people in the right way. So it is a whole system is made to give you a medical procedure, a drug, or a medical device. That's what we do, and we trained everybody to do. So we don't have this idea that we could do something different. And I mean, I'm lucky enough to be involved with some companies who are doing really, really cool things. And there's a company that I really love myself called Virta Health, VIRTA Health. What they do, they use keto diet to reverse type 2 diabetes. Think about decade ago, 5 years ago, type 2 diabetes was irreversible condition, a condition that you're going to have rest of your life. Suddenly these guys come in and they give you better diet, and they not only stop the disease, but they reverse it. And that is still not believed by all the doctors. And they have done, I think, 100,000 people now who had type 2 diabetes and don't have it anymore. I'm a science guy. I'm a computer scientist. I'm a scientist by heart. I see amazing things done in healthcare. We can cure many cancers. We can save many lives. But we can only be dogmatic in a way that it's either or. Food nutrition can be a very important piece of the puzzle. Today, we don't do that at all. We need to invest at least some money into that area. Otherwise, we are just using these tools we have today, where we are just giving more pills to people. Like you give one pill that causes a side effect, we give another pill to cure the side effect. That's insane.
I know it's not necessarily your expertise, but you've been in this space for quite some time. And, the reason why they treat the diseases is because it's much more profitable to treat a disease than to actually cure it. Right. How do we combat that? Right. I mean, essentially what you're providing are the solutions that people need to combat it. But that healthcare system is pretty ingrained. It's since we were little telling us that this is what you're supposed to do. You're sick, you're supposed to go to the doctor. Doctor tells you you're supposed to take your medicine. You're supposed to take your medicine. How do we break that cycle? What are you guys doing to kind of try to show people, look, there's another way. This is probably the way you're supposed to do it, not necessarily medicate yourself all the time.
We need to be taking responsibility. It's not up to the government or the state or the doctor. It's up to us to do the right thing. And I think if we would all maybe be a bit more vocal about how we think things are and not take things as they are granted today. First of all, like I said, the food system as a whole is completely crazy. Like, how many people really want to feed their kids with food that will make them sick and likely die younger than you will die? I mean, how many of us want to do it? Actually, with our money, we pay for that freaking food with our tax dollars. How many people really want to, use our tax dollars? I mean, you probably know about SNAP. SNAP is the benefit. I don't think many people don't know that 10%, about $7 to $9 billion of that money, 70 billion a year, is being used for soda. Think about it. We use tax money to give people soda, and then that soda will cost about 5 times more at the back end in Medicaid healthcare costs that we also pay for. Like, is that smart to spend 10 billion in soda and then spend another 30, 40 billion in the Medicare cost at the back end? Like, that's insane. So we need to become smarter. But now the problem we have today, the government, the state, the healthcare system, or the food system will do nothing because, like you said, everybody is making a lot of money. And the status quo is great. We keep people sick, but profitable. So it is really up to us to make a difference and ask for better stuff. And maybe even, become a bit more educated on these topics. But basically, it is not that hard. Our mom told us, eat in moderation, move enough and sleep well. Those 3 things will help you and maybe give you 10 more years, but we often don't do them right.
Yeah, and I think people try to, well, ultimately confuse things. Like I can only have, I have a little bit of this, or I have a little bit of that. And moderation is definitely a thing, but some of the habits are the things that we need to break. Drinking soda every day, that's going to hurt you down the road, even if it's just a glass every single day. That soda is hurting you. I always call it like motor oil, right? It's going into your body and it's not coming out so easily. But you're also helping people. I mean, I named this episode The Intersection of AI and Nutrition, because that confusion of what should I do? How should I eat stuff? We're now living in an era where you have those answers at your fingertips. Tell me more about the AI, how people can find out more to be able to utilize a tool like this so that they can get in the habit of eating and taking care of themselves rather than the older habits that are hurting them.
Yeah, the simple things that people can do, and I think many of us we have played around with the ChatGPT, maybe the Gemini at Google, or using the Microsoft own AI tools, and you can do simple stuff like talk to it, ask about it, like, hey, I'm not feeling great, like what could I do? Ask it to give you like a meal plan, ask it to maybe guide you to better habits, and it can do it really well. Of course, I'm not saying it's a doctor, because
Mhm.
it's not licensed to be a doctor yet. It can't give you medication, and sometimes it will hallucinate and give you crazy answers that you may not should follow at all. But the point is that we've been doing it in a way that at Elo, like I said, we collect all that data from you, and then we feed that data into the AI system to give you the right nutrients, the guidance, and so forth. And we are fairly close. We haven't yet published this, but we are getting closer every day on being able for you to ask questions like, what should I eat today? In context of your blood biomarkers, your habits, your likes, and it will actually give you, or you can ask, what is my training plan at the gym for this week? It will give you the freaking training plan and tell you what to do on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. That is already working, and it is actually better than I've seen any person to do ever, because our reptile brain here, the muscle we have, it is not very good at keeping two thoughts together. If I feed it a lot of data, it's not going to be able to comprehend it. AI has no problem. It can take every data that you have from last decade and crunch it in a nanosecond and give it to you in a nice meal, basically. So that is the difference that AI can do, and we often don't understand it. But I would tell everybody, go play with these tools. They are not perfect today, but the pace that they are evolving now is unprecedented. I've been working on this stuff called AI for, I don't know, 20 years. And there's been more happening in the last week than happened in the last 19 years. It is
Yeah.
just mind-boggling today.
It is. I mean, all kinds of different tools, using it for all kinds of different things, and we're just scraping the surface. We're just getting started with this. Now, you said that when we use AI, we can give it a lot of data points. When it comes to our personal health, my question is, what kind of data points are we giving it? I know, for example, if you hear people like Gary Brecka, he has this like DNA test that he does to kind of give you an understanding of what genetic markers you might be in depleted, or whatever like nutrients that your body needs. What kind of data do we need so that we can use your model and get the best results possible?
That's a great question. So I think we have a lot of misconceptions in a way. Like if you think about your own life, you go to a doctor maybe once or twice a year, maybe every other 2 years, and what they do, they measure your weight, they ask if you smoke, they measure your height. I mean, you're not growing after 20. You get maybe a bit smaller, but not a lot. And then they maybe test your lipid panel. Lipid panel means like your LDL cholesterol, HDL. Maybe they test your A1C, which is the diabetes marker for you. So that's roughly what people do. What else you often do? Maybe you have a wearable device. You are measuring your steps. Maybe you have a tracker for your sleep. So that is already kind of few different data points. So for me, I mean, many people ask me about this question, like, what is the stack rank order? What means a lot? So I think the whole idea about LDL is a little bit overblown. We test LDL, we give everybody statins. We should actually test the size of the LDL particles. We should actually test things like ApoB, LP small a. These are markers for heart disease that normally are not done today, and they are really indicating whether you have issues or not. Sleep to me is a really important factor. Most people are getting sick because they are too stressed, they don't sleep properly, and that cycle goes on and on for a few years, and then you just get too tired, your body gets broken because of that. Sleep has to be fixed in order to be healthy. Movement, activity, you don't need to run marathons, but you need to move enough. So I think the 10,000 steps, 5,000 steps, whatever, is a really good idea, because if you do it outside, even better, then you get air, and your body starts to move differently. But there is not like a one marker you need to do, but you should do all of these things. And I think one point that is very people don't really understand is like, how do you then eat? What we do all the time, we are a nation of people who feel kind of threatened if we are hungry. The snacking is unbelievably crazy. Like, we go to Starbucks, we get we call it coffee, but we call the venti macchiato or whatever. It's going to be 1,000 calories. It's more than a Big Mac meal of calories. So we had that on the car, and then we're going to have a donut here and there. We're going to have a snack bar, a protein bar. What we are made to be as humans, we are made to feel hunger. We don't need to even eat every day. We can totally survive 5 days with no food, but we are never hungry at all. So if I think about myself, for example, I often do intermittent fasting in the morning if I don't train. I usually eat a breakfast that is never really carb heavy. It's more like a smoothie with low glycemic smoothie with like protein, or I do an omelette. Lunch, I always do a salad, and a dinner is often 6 p.m., not later. And I often do whatever I want for dinner. It doesn't matter. But then I never eat after 7 p.m. And then I eat again in the morning. And that is going to be one of the key pieces to keep you healthy. You don't have to eat the breakfast. Many people like to eat it. But if you eat the salad in the lunch, and then you eat whatever you eat for dinner, but don't eat too late, and don't drink. If you drink after 7 p.m. alcohol, you're not going to sleep well, and your REM sleep goes down, and you lose creativity, you lose yourself. So those are some of the kind of tidbits, but I highly recommend people to test every year the basic blood markers. It's very valuable.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it's almost identical to what I've been eating lately. So I wake up in the morning, I'll have I'm an early riser. I get up in the morning, I do my workout, I go for my run, I come back, then I have like scrambled eggs and I don't know, some sort of protein, turkey, sausage, or bacon or something like that. That's usually breakfast, and then lunch is usually a salad. Sometimes it's a sandwich, and then dinner. I often, there's times where I just don't feel like eating dinner, and I don't. And my wife would get on my case because she's like, you only ate 2 times today, that sort of thing. But for me, I agree with you. I'm like, you know what? I don't always have to eat. And usually it's the snacking is from boredom more than anything else. I'm hanging out, I'm watching a movie, and I'm grabbing a snack. Now, I'm trying to make a shift. So like yesterday, for example, my snack was pistachios. A little bit different than, going for the peanut M&Ms that I would have loved to go for, right? But making those small little changes like that, or also telling myself things like, I'll pick up blueberries and raspberries and have those as a snack versus the candy. You still get the sweet, but it's all a little bit more natural. Some of these small habits are starting to make a big difference in how I look, how I feel, in the energy that I got. And I'm hoping that it adds those years at the end of the road as well. And they're quality years. That's the other thing, right? As we age, ultimately we our bodies are getting older. They're not going to function as well. I'm just hoping that as I age, I have that mobility because I put the work in. I have the cognitive function because I put the diet in. Because I'm taking care of myself today, I can reap the benefits for a longer period of time tomorrow. If people want to, by the way, thank you for coming on the show. If people want to reach out, they want to find out more about what it is you do, have a conversation with you, find out more about your AI software, how can they do that?
Easiest way to go to elo.health. That's the website that you can find our products and our services. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. If you look at my name, Ari Tulla, you can follow my musings. And I think there's maybe one hack about that, 2 hacks that I think are maybe interesting to people. So I think that the big thing, if you think about nutrition, like I talked about like broadly what to do, but the one thing we have done badly, almost all of us, and that is making us overweight and sick. And that is the abundant amount of sugar that we have in our diet. We are putting sugar now in every bread. We are putting sugar in almost every processed food. And that was not the case before. The sugar is the culprit. And just to kind of give people this idea, in 70s, there was a moment when there was a study done in UK and the US. And the idea was to validate whether fat or sugar is culprit for the heart disease that you mentioned in the beginning. In UK, they came into result that the sugar is bad. In the US, they came in the conclusion that the fat is bad. That moment left us into this mess we are today. We basically made everything light. We took the fat out. We added sugar, and that one single research will likely kill 1 billion people too early, or maybe 2 billion people. It's more people dying if you think about years of death or years of not lived than all the wars combined in the human history. That one decision. So that's pretty impactful.
Let me ask you about the sugar thing, because fruit, for example, oftentimes fruit has the skin on the outside. A lot of times, from what I've been hearing, and I'm not a doctor, I don't understand, so I'm going to ask you. Like when you eat the fruit that has the skins on it, a lot of times those fibers help you process the sugars differently versus if you're just popping a Twizzler or a Snickers, there's none of that fiber ahead of time. Does it matter, the type of sugar, the processed sugar versus the natural sugars?
The type of sugar, it does not matter at all. I mean, yes, some of them might have some stuff that is not good for you, but sugar is sugar is sugar. Fructose is even worse than normal glucose, normal sugar. So it doesn't really get better. Why the fruit with the skin is far better than the fruit in a fruit juice is because the fiber and the skin itself, it will metabolize slower in your stomach. So I tell everybody this, like every meal, have some protein, have some fat. Dessert is a dessert because it's eaten after the food. If you have let's say you have a steak or you have a omelette and then you have an ice cream after it, your glucose will not spike. If you have the ice cream is not the worst thing, but if you have it like 4 hours after dinner, it will spike like crazy because your stomach is empty and it will immediately attack the sugar. So having fruit as a sort of a snack is okay. Having fruit after a meal is totally fine. Having a fruit juice in the morning with let's say bagel is absolutely not good for you. So it's just, we need to think about this. And I mean, there's this hacks that, I talk to people all the time that, I've been testing because I have a glucose monitor on all the time almost. So I can see my impact. I can have the same food. And if I have a bit more olive oil in it or a bit more protein in it, I won't spike at all. If I don't, I spike like crazy. So it's just a matter of how do we learn to eat. And if you think about Italian diet, the Mediterranean diet, for example, they started with the salad with heavy on olive oil. And then they do the pasta. If you do the pasta only, you're going to spike your glucose. If you do the olive oil infused salad in the beginning, you don't spike at all. And alcohol actually is diffusing the spike. So you have a half glass of red wine, you don't spike as much. So it's very interesting how our body is, because you still get the sugar, but it doesn't come to you so quickly.
Well, Ari, thank you very much for coming on the show. Those hacks, a lot of those little things, the order in which you eat the food makes a big difference for people. I do eat the berries, and now I'm thinking, you know what? I should eat the berries after I eat my eggs. That'll make a big difference in the diet. Just a small transition like that can be very useful. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know more? Make sure you go to elo.health. That's ELO.health. And find out more about what Ari's up to. You can find him on LinkedIn as well. Ari Tulla is his handle there. So go ahead and check that out. Ari, thank you very much for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, your health is your wealth. Everybody who's healthy, well, there's a million things on your plate that you want to go after and go do. But if you're not healthy, there's really only one thing you want, and that is to get healthy. And this is your opportunity just right now. You don't got to wait till Monday, the first of the month, the beginning of the year. Today is the day that you can start making the change, and you watch how much your life changes when you decide to make your health your priority. So Ari, thank you very much for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started.